My father pushed my tuition notice back across the dinner table like it was a parking ticket and said, "You don't get college until you fix this with your brother." The paper stopped beside my plate. Chicken gone cold. Iced tea sweating into the coaster. My mother staring at the tablecloth like silence had always been her favorite kind of loyalty. Across from me, my brother Noah leaned back in his chair with that faint, lazy smirk he only wore when someone else was paying the price for his mess. I was 18, one summer away from leaving for college, and the tuition notice in front of me was not a surprise. The first payment was due in 4 days. We had talked about it for months. I had my acceptance letter, my housing assignment, my orientation date, even the color-coded binder where I kept every form and deadline, because when you grow up in a house like mine, organization becomes a survival skill. So no, the bill was not the surprise. The surprise was hearing my father say it like my future was suddenly conditional. Not on grades, not on money, on my brother. "Fix what?" I asked, even though I knew exactly what he meant. My father's jaw tightened. "Don't play games, Claire." Noah gave a short laugh and picked up his fork again, like this was some small family inconvenience that would resolve itself the second I stopped being difficult. 3 days earlier, I had found the missing money. My grandmother left educational accounts for both of us years ago. Not massive trust fund money, just the kind that could cover college if nobody got greedy. My parents were custodians until each of us turned 18. Mine was supposed to be there, intact, waiting for tuition. It wasn't. $17,000 had been moved out of my account in 3 separate transfers over 6 months. I only found out because I went to the bank with my ID to make sure the first payment would clear cleanly. The branch manager printed the statements, circled the transfers, and asked whether I wanted to dispute them. All 3 were authorized electronically from the family laptop. All 3 landed in an account tied to Noah. When I got home with the printouts, my father didn't even try confusion first. He went straight to irritation. It was temporary. Noah said he needed room to breathe. My mother said families borrow from each other. My father said the money would be replaced once things stabilized. Things had been stabilizing around Noah my whole life. When he wrecked his car, my parents called it a setback. When he got dropped from school for skipping too many classes, they called it stress. When he started one business idea after another and burned through cash he didn't earn, they called it finding himself. When I needed anything, the language changed. Be patient. Be understanding. Don't make this harder. Your brother needs us more right now. The bank manager told me I could file a formal review, so I did something smarter. I made copies, statements, transfer dates, device log, account ownership details, and one short written timeline explaining that the money was designated for my tuition and moved without my consent. I put the copies in a large brown envelope and addressed it to the one person in my family who still believed records more than excuses, my grandmother's attorney, Mr. Halpern. I didn't mail it right away. I kept it in the back of my desk drawer under my old debate certificates because some naive part of me still thought maybe my parents would do the right thing once they realized I wasn't bluffing. Instead, I got dinner. And my father sliding my tuition notice back to me like college itself was now a hostage negotiation. "You're not sending anything," he said. "You're going to sit down with Noah, work this out privately, and stop trying to blow up this family over money." Over money? I looked at him, then at Noah, then at my mother, who still hadn't said a single word in my defense. Not one. Noah finally spoke. "It's not like I stole it. Dad knew." That line told me everything. Not guilt, not regret, not even fear. Permission. My father pointed at the tuition notice. "You want college? Then fix this with your brother. Withdraw the complaint. Call the lawyer tomorrow and tell him nothing was unauthorized. Until then, I'm not paying a dime toward that bill." My mother whispered, "Claire, please don't make this uglier." I looked at the paper again, then at the man who had just told me my education would be canceled unless I helped protect the son who emptied it. Then I said one word, "All right." Noah relaxed immediately. My father leaned back like he'd won. My mother closed her eyes for half a second in relief. Good. Let them think that. By 4:50 the next morning, my closet was empty. By 5:12, my suitcase was in the trunk of my car. And by 5:26, the brown envelope was no longer in my desk drawer because I had mailed it certified from the 24-hour post office across town. I was carrying the last box down the hall when I heard Noah in my room. A drawer opened, then silence. Then his voice, thin and wrong for the first time in his life. "Please tell me you didn't send it." My father stopped smiling before he even reached the doorway. Noah was standing in my doorway with the drawer open and the green certified mail receipt in his hand. That was what made him pale. Not guilt, not conscience, paper. He looked at me, then at the receipt again, and said, "Please tell me you didn't send it." I was carrying the last box from my dresser. I set it down in the hallway and kept my voice level. "You knew exactly what you took." My father came up behind him fast. My mother was 2 steps back, still in her robe, already crying in that quiet, exhausted way she used whenever reality finally turned on the person she had helped. "What receipt?" my father snapped. Noah handed it over. That was the first moment I saw real fear on my father's face. Not because he cared about the money, because he recognized the law firm name. Halpern and Weiss had handled my grandmother's estate, the educational accounts, and every yearly reporting packet since she died. 2 summers earlier, Mr. Halpern sent a formal letter reminding my parents that the accounts were custodial only and any non-educational use had to be documented, justified, and subject to later review. My father called it boilerplate. Now he was reading the certified mail stub like it had grown teeth. "You mailed statements?" he asked. "Copies." My mother finally found her voice. "Claire, please." I ignored her. Because once a family says your future is conditional on protecting the son who emptied it, the conversation changes shape. My father stepped into my room and looked at the empty closet, the stripped desk, the missing envelope, the suitcase by the door. "Where are you going?" "Away from this house." He laughed once, but it came out thin. "Don't be dramatic." That word again, dramatic. The family label for any reaction they found inconvenient. Noah tried next. "You're going to ruin everything over a temporary transfer." I turned to him. "You moved $17,000. You weren't using it yet." That line hit me harder than the theft. Not because it was clever, because it was honest. To Noah, my tuition money had looked idle, available, a pile of future that could be borrowed against because his crisis had arrived first. My father lowered the receipt and switched tactics. "Call the post office," he said. "Intercept it." I almost laughed. "There's nothing to intercept. It was delivered at 5:02. He stared at me. "Good." Let him picture the envelope on Mr. Halpern's desk while he stood there in my bedroom, trying to command daylight backward. My mother stepped in then, voice trembling. "Honey, if there was a misunderstanding, we can fix it inside the family." "No," I said. "You had dinner for that." That shut her up. My father's jaw hardened. If Halpern opens that packet, he's going to create a legal mess that hurts all of us. There it was. Not unfair, not mistaken, not overblown. A legal mess. Because he knew exactly what was in the copies. The transfer dates, the login records, the receiving account in Noah's name. The note the bank manager wrote beside the second transfer when I asked whether the device history could be printed. Authorized from home desktop. Custodian present on file. My father tried one last time to sound reasonable. "Claire, listen to me carefully. Noah was in a bad spot. I approved a temporary bridge. The money was coming back." From where? Silence. That told me enough. Noah looked down at the floor. My mother cried harder. My father said, "That's not the point. It's the only point." Then he made the mistake. "If you walk out now, don't expect help when this blows back on you, too." I stared at him. On me. He was still trying to make the victim share custody of the consequence. I picked up my suitcase. "You already canceled my college unless I lied for him." There's not much left to threaten. I walked past all three of them. My mother followed me onto the porch in slippers, begging me to wait until everyone calmed down. Noah stayed inside. My father stood in the doorway holding the certified stub like it was a medical result he wanted to unread. I put the suitcase in my trunk. Then my phone rang. Mr. Halpern. I answered on speaker without planning to. Maybe I wanted my father to hear the voice that was about to replace his. "Claire," he said, dry as winter. "I received your packet. I have one immediate question before I do anything else." My father took one step forward. I said, "Okay. Did you authorize any of the transfers out of your educational account?" "No." Mr. Halpern was silent for one beat. Then he said, "All right. Do not destroy anything in that house. And Claire?" "Yes?" "There is a second issue in the login history you mailed me. Your father didn't just move your tuition money. I need you in my office this morning. This may be bigger than your account." My father stopped breathing. Mr. Halpern's office smelled like old paper and radiator heat. He didn't offer coffee. He didn't offer comfort. He just laid my copies beside a thicker file from his cabinet and said, "Your father made 2 mistakes. The transfers are only the first one." Then he turned the screen toward me. The 3 withdrawals from my education account had not gone straight into Noah's life, the way my family described at dinner. They moved first into Noah's subaccount under the Mercer Education Trust, coded as beneficiary reallocation. That sounded neat, temporary, internal, almost innocent. Then came the second step. Within 48 hours of each reallocation, matching amounts left Noah's subaccount under emergency academic support codes and landed somewhere else entirely. One payment went to a criminal defense retainer, one paid down Brent's business line, the third went to my parents' mortgage account. I stared at the screen, not because I didn't believe it, because suddenly dinner made sense. They had not only stolen my tuition to protect Noah, they had used Noah as a tunnel. Mr. Halpern slid 3 signed forms across the desk, annual fiduciary certifications, my mother's signature, my father's signature, 3 years in a row. Each one stated the funds had been preserved solely for educational use, no beneficiary money had been diverted for household purposes, and no subaccount had been used to mask unrelated expenditures. "They lied on all 3, I said. "Yes." He didn't soften it. "Good." Then he opened a sealed document from the back of the file and handed it to me. My grandmother's letter. Not sentimental, not long. "Claire, if you are sitting in Halpern's office because your parents interfered with your schooling to save Noah, then they have done exactly what I expected them to do once the money became visible. Do not argue with them. Do not rescue them from what the paper says. And do not trade your future for peace in that house. If your education is obstructed, Halpern is to remove them immediately from all custodial authority and fund your tuition, housing, books, and living costs directly. No negotiation, no family meeting, no temporary borrowing. Your brother has been protected from consequences all his life. That ends wherever the record begins." I read the last line twice. Mr. Halpern let the silence sit. Then he said, "Your parents are already removed as custodians. I filed the freeze this morning." I looked up. "On both accounts?" "Yes." That landed harder than the letter, because Noah had always been the point. Every excuse, every exception, every rearrangement of justice in my house had bent toward him. And now, because they used him to drain me, his own account was locked too. Mr. Halpern continued, "Your tuition will be paid directly by the trust this afternoon. Housing too, you will not miss college." For 1 second I couldn't speak, not because I was crying, because relief can hit the body like grief if you've been bracing long enough. Then he added, "Now for the second mistake." He opened another file. When my grandmother helped my parents buy their house 6 years ago, she didn't gift the money the way my mother told everyone. She recorded a private family note for the down payment. Interest was suspended as long as they complied with the education trust terms and kept both beneficiary accounts intact. I sat forward slowly. And now? Mr. Halpern folded his hands. Now the note is live again. The balance, with deferred interest, was $58,300. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because my father had canceled my tuition over money he thought he controlled, and by breakfast he had activated a debt he probably forgot existed. Mr. Halpern tapped the file once. I've called your parents in for 4 o'clock. Noah, too. They deserve to hear the structure in the same room. I thought about my father at dinner. My mother with the plate still in front of her. Noah smirking while my future sat beside the potatoes. Then I asked, do they know about the house note? Not yet. My phone buzzed right then. Dad, then Mom, then Noah. I set the phone face down on the desk. Mr. Halpern nodded once, approving the silence more than any answer. Then he said, there is one thing I need from you before they arrive. What? A simple yes or no. If Noah begs you to withdraw the complaint to save his account, are you going to do it? I thought about the drawer, the green receipt in his hand, the look on his face when paper finally became real. Then I said, no. Mr. Halpern closed the file. Good, he said, because your father didn't just cancel your tuition. He may have put his own house back on the market. At 4 o'clock, my parents walked into Mr. Halpern's conference room, looking like people who still believed Tone could save them. My mother sat first. Brent stayed standing for a second too long, then took the chair beside her. Noah came in last, pale now, stripped of the lazy confidence he wore at dinner. Mr. Halpern waited until everyone was seated before he opened the file. He did not raise his voice. He didn't need to. He laid out the transfers first. My tuition money moved out of my account, into Noah's sub-account, then out again under false education codes. Criminal retainer, Brent's business line, mortgage payment. Then he laid down the annual certifications, each signed by my parents, each falsely stating the funds had been preserved solely for educational use. My mother tried first. We meant to replace it. Mr. Halpern looked at her over his glasses. With what? No answer. Brent tried next. This became a temporary liquidity issue. No, Mr. Halpern said. It became misuse of a custodial account. Then Noah spoke, voice thin. What happens to my college money? There it was. Not Claire's tuition, not the theft, not the lies. His account. Mr. Halpern answered cleanly. Both accounts are frozen pending corrected administration. Your access is suspended because your sub-account was used as a transfer channel. Noah looked at my father. Really looked at him. You said it was safe. My father didn't answer. Good. Let him sit inside silence for once. Then Mr. Halpern opened the second file, the house note. He explained it exactly the way Grandma would have wanted, simple enough to hurt. The down payment assistance had been a recorded private family note, not a gift. The interest had stayed dormant only while the education trusts remained intact and compliant. Their misuse of my account reactivated the note automatically. Current balance due, $58,300. My mother made a small sound in the back of her throat. Brent went still. Noah just stared from one adult to the other like the floor had turned against him. My father was the last one to react. That's extortion. Mr. Halpern slid the recorded note across the table. No, that is enforcement. Then he turned to me. Claire, your tuition has been paid directly this afternoon. Housing as well. Your educational expenses will now be administered without parental custody. For 1 second, the whole room disappeared. Not from emotion, from relief. The kind so sharp it almost feels like grief finally leaving the body. My mother looked at me then, not angry now, desperate. You'd really let this happen to us? I thought about dinner. The tuition notice pushed back at my plate. My future held hostage to my brothers. Comfort. My empty closet before dawn. Then I answered the only way I could live with. You already did. That landed harder than the note balance. Noah pushed his chair back. Dad, you said she'd fold. There it was. The whole strategy in one sentence. My father turned on him too late. Be quiet. But the room had already heard it. Mr. Halpern closed the file. Here are your options. Repay the misused funds under a corrective schedule and address the house note or force formal recovery. I don't recommend the second path. Brent asked, How long do we have? Not long enough to keep pretending this is a misunderstanding. We left the office just before 5. My mother tried to follow me to the parking lot. I kept walking. My father called my name once in that old warning tone that used to make me stop. It didn't work anymore. Behind me, I heard Noah ask the question that should have been asked months earlier. You really took her tuition? Not borrowed, not shifted, not stabilized. Took. I didn't turn around. I left for college 3 weeks later. My tuition was paid directly. My housing was secure. My books were covered before orientation. For the first time in my life, my future was not sitting on the kitchen table, waiting for someone else to reassign it. The house note did not disappear. My parents had to refinance under terms they hated, and Brent's business problems remained his own for once. Noah lost access to the easy rescue route he had built his life around. That may have been the first honest education he ever got. My mother spent months trying to soften the story into a painful family financial misunderstanding. It wasn't. It was a choice, documented in transfers, signatures, and the folder she carried into my room before breakfast. What Grandma left me was not just money. It was timing, structure, and one adult in the room willing to let the record say what my family never would. If you made it this far, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. Would you have locked the trust before midnight too, or confronted them first and risked losing the morning? And which hit harder for you, the tuition notice at dinner, the green receipt in Noah's hand, or the house note coming back to life? If this story stayed with you, leave a like, subscribe, and stay with me for the next one.